Alrighty. Well, I've got a new young guy at work who's just started. I was training him today. A thought occurred to me that if I ever decide to get a different job, it should be one where I just train people, because honestly, I don't know how many people I've been training in my time at this place. And in about another week and a bit, I would have been there a year. Oh, yet another one. But they're going to probably need even more. We've got the new supervisor. He's not really replacing the one that left, because the one that's left is the one higher up. He's sort of replacing the guy that left at the end of last year. It's one of these things. Yeah, always seem to need more people at that place. They're either getting cycled out of the joint, or just aren't good enough, really speaking, to begin with. The exceedingly dangerous black man, East African guy who does the one-track mind guy who sort of doesn't really go too well with safety, he's out as well. So yeah, I didn't realise it, but this other bigger boss, who's the South African, while he was there, he went through about 5 or 6 supervisors. So he's left, and now there's only just a supervisor, not him, but there will be someone at some point replacing him. And we've actually had Mr. Bigwig from Sydney down. I don't know if he's flown back yet or what, but he has been down in the preceding, well, in the last week or two, probably 2 weeks. So yeah, he's Mr. He's basically the one in charge of Australia. So yeah. So anyway, there's another guy that's sort of like the would you say the Australian ambassador back to the main company, who is of the origin where, like, he's immigrated from the main country after working in the export department of the main, the headquarters of the multinational place. So there's him, and he's the only one higher than this other guy who's been down for the last 2 weeks. They sort of almost, because of so many different languages, and I told you it was in 22 different countries, it's in 60 different countries. An Australian branch was the 23rd or the 27th or some shit one that was opened, like the 23rd or 27th country they opened in. Mind you, this is all still held primarily by the one family. In fact, the founder's wife is still alive and still has a bit to do with the company, even though she's about 72 or 74 or something. And the son of the founder is the CEO of the entire corporation. Anyways, while I'm out here, and while it's not too dark, I'll give you a bit of a better look. This was the cardboard house. Got the insulation panel. You saw this before, but it was too dark really to see it. So this, I put this on intending to turn it into a hothouse of some sort, and that idea sort of faded. I was going to have like a rock heating system and a wood heater, and maybe some sort of a fandangle to let the flue come out the side or something like that. But at the end of the day, I just went and splurged a couple of bucks. I can't remember how much all this cost on polycarbonate, and already had that mattress. Bought some new bed sheets only a couple of weeks ago. that's the one that's open, as you can see, and the frickin' rain got in and gives a shit mark on the bloody shit. Rain was coming in there. Not that I really give a shit. It's been warm enough, and it rarely rains in the middle of summer, although it has once or twice unexpectedly. And that corner there, it's not really covered in. Oh, there's that little bit, and then you got the door there that's open. You get enough breeze from there through the back of there. You probably should. I would have liked to have got these two sheets and mounted them on the frame. Just sort of one here, another one there. You probably should have joined, so that I could actually open it up. Never got to that, but it's not too bad. You know, it's better than being inside the house. And once it cools down out here, you're down to like, I don't know, 68 Fahrenheit or whatever, 70 Fahrenheit, something like that, you know. So it's not too bad out here at night. And more recently, I've been hanging clothes, using a bit of bloody builder's string line. And there's a fourth one there. So I get up in the morning and I got to watch for this shit. But yeah, I've been sleeping out here quite a few nights. And yeah. Anyway, this new supervisor is... well, how long has that got to take? 2 minutes? More like 20. You know, that seems to become a theme. He thinks a lot of things are going to be a lot quicker than they are, and I was surprised at some of the questions he's asking me, really, to be honest. But the thing is, they've got him so involved with all the office stuff. He's just been pounded on this office shit for, you know, the last few days and that, and, you know, they're making sure he understands the office system more than anything else. Don't really know that he's been involved in any construction industry related stuff. Yeah, and I assume he's going to ask me a whole hell of a lot more questions as time goes on. Funny accent, I can't really put my finger on it. At first I thought it was South African, but they'd always say, you know, the morning meeting, oh, you got something to say? You go, not really. So it only ever hears like 2 or 3 words at a time. So you wouldn't really be able to pick the accent just based on that. And I thought it was South African. I thought, oh, here we go. South African big boss, got a South African supervisor. Well, now I've been doing a bit of stuff with him today, including getting a friggin' jam disc out of an angle grinder. That was a shitstorm. It actually sounds more like the British aristocracy. It sounds a bit like upper-class British. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had rich British parents and he sort of got the accent from them and then come over here at some later point. I couldn't tell you if his parents are over here or not, but I can tell you it's not. I'm pretty certain it's not South African. I'm pretty certain it's like the upper-class British accent. Yeah, it's a sort of hard one because it's not like normal sort of Londoner sort of, you know, talk, but yeah. But they've got a lot of bizarre accents. There's places in England where you can go 40 kilometres, which works out about, so like 25 miles or something. I think it's 25 miles. And the accent changes completely. So much so that one person 25 miles away from the other has trouble understanding them. 25 miles apart. You couldn't make this up. I don't know what it is that causes all those accents, but I know one thing, and that is that people, the high cost, the ridiculous cost of fuel there, means they don't travel much. And even some of the people we've got in Europe say that in their European country you never travel a great distance. Yeah, British people told me the same thing. You know, you never travel a great distance. They're sort of, you know, I tell them I go 1,000 k's a week, which is like 625 miles a week, and they're like, you know, to them it's just hard to believe, you know. And I gather in South Africa they do a fair amount of miles too on a regular basis. But yeah. So that's what's happening with all that. But anyway, this coming week, I'm going back to 3 days a week, and that by no means we'll be working less. I'll put it like that. We'll be very busy with other shit. I am hoping to deal with someone else and recruit another helper in the situation this weekend. When I have one of my days off next week, never mind what days they are, but when I have those off, I'm going to be running around doing a whole shitstorm of stuff. And yeah, things are there's gonna be more stuff than I ever would have imagined to do. And it seems that the better you want to make things, the more work you got to do. I'll put it like that, because there's another whole branch of this thing that's sort of coming up that I didn't really see coming, to be quite honest. But it's coming common in this area, and if you want to be at the leading edge, you probably should be involved in it. And thank God I have a slight bit of knowledge on this area already. I'm nowhere near as up to scratch as the top dogs are, but there's a lot of people who aren't anywhere near at this level. In the United States, this area is nowhere near as advanced as it is in Europe. The dirty little secret is you can apply that to a lot of things. If you've seen, I'll give you an example of cars. There was a French-built 1980 vehicle here with independent rear suspension. My car is the first Australian one to have independent rear suspension as standard, built in '99. When did you get it in the United States? The Corvette in 2006. How did GM work out how to put it all together? GM worked out how to put it all together because they got on the phone to GM Australia, who guided them in how to engineer this thing. That's the way it's gone with cars. France, 1980, Australia, 1999, America, 2006. And there's parts of Europe that are already well up to scratch in this area. And so is Japan, not surprisingly. The US is starting to delve into it, but you can go to Europe and they've already got it on the ground, on the factory floor. You go to America, they're still fidgeting around with it. I will say the European system isn't quite as advanced as it could be at its optimum, but it's better to have a first generation system in operation than a second generation system that we're still working on, and it's going to be another few years till we get it perfected. And that's where America is at. And Italy, I've seen an Italian system and I was fucking impressed, quite impressed. They've really hit it on the head. It's not what you're going to expect to see. Far from it. But I was so impressed that I had to dig in deeper, and I think I can actually copycat the damn thing and save myself truckfuls of money, really speaking. You would be looking at about $12,000 I think. That's a guesstimate. Might even be more for this system, and I can't afford that if I want to have any other money left. And considering that I have a little bit of knowledge, not much knowledge, but a little bit of knowledge of a few things, I reckon I might be able to copycat a couple of things for myself. And instead of using a $5,000 industrial machine, I could just whack it on a domestic machine and experiment. And if it all fucks up, well, I've only blown a $20 domestic machine, haven't I? Who gives a shit? Kitty's finishing off something over here. Ain't you, honey? That was brought in last night because I was sleeping out here. I slept through all that. Didn't I, hey? Come in the morning and went to Flame and put my work shirt on and discovered there was something on the floor. It's a very good cat when it comes to catching all these sort of things. Anyway, you know, like old Trump said, there's you got to do a lot of hard work to achieve something that was worth doing, and you know, anything worth doing takes a hell of a lot of effort. And I think of our old mate in the van who's in Florida on the same beach that he was on about a year or so beforehand, talking to the camera. And he's on the same beach again, wasting time again. He might think he's living an eternal holiday, but I'll put it like this. There's rewards that come with things that are worth doing, and the very next video after the beach, oh gee, you know, living's tight, this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. Oh God, well dude, you know, maybe you better do something, even if it's working at McDonald's, you know. You know, you got to put in a hard effort for a good result, you know, and it's often the case. You can unnecessarily work very hard at something that could have been done an easier way. And that's something that's really, you know, I'm considering too. That's one of the reasons why I might be fidgeting around with robotics on sewing machines. It's just all the stupid ass socialists in the comments on any of these robotic sewing machine videos. People's lives matter. People come before machines, not robots. You know that Rana Park in Bangladesh where like 800 to 1,000 people died? There was a crack in the wall that developed in one day. The crack was big enough to stick 2 hands through. The owners said to the press, oh no, it's nothing, it's just a bit of plaster cracked off the wall, everyone's getting worried. The next morning all the workers said, we're not going to go in there, this building will collapse and kill us. And I said, don't worry, we're going to go in, so if it's safe for us to go in and we're going to risk our life, you can risk your life. Well, they went in there for about the first 3 hours. And they sort of quietly walked out. Oh, I've got to go take a phone call, whatever, blah, blah. They all sort of disappeared after about 3 hours. At hour 5, come down. 800 to 1,000 people dead or seriously injured. And any of these frickin' socialist idiots are, oh, you put people before machines, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, if you call sending Bangladeshi workers to their death as putting people before machines, go right ahead, dickhead, and we can put you next to the portrait of Hitler later on. Because fucking hell, you know, the guy who, you know, told them all to go in there, he's, you know, up for basically criminal negligence, you know, leading to death. And he's going to be spending a long time in jail, bloody long time in jail. And, you know, what would you rather be? You know, have a job and die, or be out of work but still be alive? You know, one of these things. One of these things. But the wages are fucking ridiculous over there, you know. I think it's 24 or 25 Canadian cents per hour yeah, Aussie terms, it's about, and I don't know what it's about. I assume it's about 28 cents, might be 29, 30, I don't know. I don't even know what the conversion rate is. But yeah, it's pretty abysmal, and you know, some interesting things I've been saying lately about China and stuff like that. Companies have been moving back to the US, and one of them said, it's one of these things with these companies, like, you know, this guy's going, oh, well, what Bangladesh needs to do before the robotic someone gets here is they've got to be educated. So we got an online program for them. Oh, you frickin' idiot. They don't have the internet. And then the woman interviewing the guy says, yeah, but they're not even literate, most of these people. Yeah, but never mind not even literate, they don't have the internet either. So how are they going to do a fucking online course? Talk about fucking stuck in his own world, you know? Fucking hell. Anyway, the thing is that with unskilled workers, if you need to do a quality thing, you need more of them. And I saw about this factory in the US that sets up machines that's like a plotter system, but I think it cuts out woodwork or does some other precision thing. And he was saying because of the lack of skill of these Chinese workers versus one semi-skilled and reasonably intelligent American, he had to use 5 Chinese workers for every 1 American worker that he now uses, and that's not a joke. Because you've got a lot of guys who are peasants, who are unskilled, who don't understand what happens when the cable isn't connected, who don't understand a whole stack of basic things, you know, who are trying to use a machine whose software they don't know the language of. Like, and I'm not talking the coding, I'm talking the actual frickin' letters. Like, ooh. And as much as they push Chinese workers, I get the feeling that even if they don't push Chinese workers, the quality is shit still. I'm not certain, but having worked with Chinese, that is sort of what I've seen myself personally. Even when Chinese ain't pushed, the quality still looks fucking atrocious. And while you can't generalise a dozen or so Chinese nationals to the whole damn nation, I have indeed worked with Chinese, and that was the case. And I've got a terrible feeling that it's just the Chinese way to just sort of slap bang everything together, even when they're not pushed. Because when I was plastering, that's what I saw, you know. A lot of sort of pretty rough sort of shit. Because their sense of standards of quality is pretty low, because they're used to everything being such low quality that when they make something, low quality is good enough for them. But sort of come from Australian background, especially if you're from a European background, you know, quality is a real thing in Europe, where everything's got to be absolutely frickin' perfect, you know. And, you know, it's a fair thing in Australia here too. We wouldn't be as bad as some of the, you know, Europeans, and particularly the North Europeans, and, you know, people like the Germans, and people in Northern Europe like the Swedes. They expect high quality, the Norwegians, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, it's interesting, some of these little things, but the robotics is flying ahead. It's flying ahead. And when it comes to the garment industry, they've worked out that they've spent years with like car parts and shit, but they're metallic, they're rigid, and the failure with the garment industry is that it all sort of flops a lot, and it's a bit harder to control. Well, if you drag it the right way, it'll take all the ripples out of it. Another one that they used already in Europe, in Juki, which is one of the biggest sewing machine industrial makers in the world. You can go to places in China and Vietnam, and it's just 100% Juki. They don't have any other brand, they've just got Juki. there's ones you can buy in Europe that will sort of semi-robotic, like a first-generation simple thing. What they do is they use a sheet metal template with holes cut in it. And you get the fabric, you put it into the template. It's got two pieces of sheet metal with a piano hinge joining them and slots cut in the sheet metal. You put the shirt front or whatever in, you close the bit of metal. Then the machine will just follow the slots and just sew the slots up so your fabric's stiff. But there's another thing from years back to make this stuff a bit stiffer. And it's starch. And they get some sort of starch. They starch the damn clothes, and all of a sudden, it's no different to car manufacturing robots because you're dealing with a stiff material. Now, the sewing machine will still run through starch. Hell, the sewing machine, one of the ones I got in there, the old blimmin' West German faff that's built like a friggin' battleship and weighs about the same amount as a battleship, that'll probably sew a hole right through your damn finger without a problem, I would say. I've seen them use them on the internet to go straight through 4 layers of canvas, full speed. That's why it's one of the most heavy-duty domestic machines ever made, because it's damn near industrial grade. But yeah, there's different things coming up, you know, different ideas and things out there, all of which work, but you got a more simpler, you know, sheet metal template, sort of a first generation system in Europe, and America's working on the starch ideas and on different other ideas, some of which have already been nailed by Juki. There's another one called Vetron Auto Seam. Holy shitballs, if that isn't good, you know, I don't know what isn't. That's the one I'm going to try and replicate to some degree. That's Italian, that machine, and that's got cameras built in that can see where the fabric is, and then it boom, 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 holds them together. You got to place the fabric in the machine, and it'll line it all up and then sew it exactly to where it's going to be sewed. And yeah. But anyway, the reason I dragged this out so long is some nosy family members couldn't be bothered to watch past the first 10 minutes of me just speaking tongue-in-cheek or whatever. And there's some family members who don't need to know what I'm doing, and so there we go. Some, you know, you got the odd one who may be a dream killer, and the less dream killers and noses you got involved in your shit, the better. Anyway, that's about that.